Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. We've got a really fascinating story for you today, one that I think speaks to so many different things. It's about kindness. It's about perception. It's about those small gestures that can sometimes have the biggest impact.
And then it's a story that kind of unexpectedly went viral, right? It touches on those big ideas, but in a way that's really grounded in a very personal experience.
Exactly. And the experience we're diving into is that of a waitress named Emma.
Oh, yeah, Emma's story. I think a lot of people can probably relate to her in some way.
Totally. And we only have like one detailed account of what happened to her. But even with that one source, I think it raises all these really interesting questions about empathy, about how we see each other, and even about how the media shapes our perception of things.
Yeah, it's like how much of this is about Emma and how much of it is about us,
Yeah,
about what we choose to focus on as a society.
right, right. So let's dive into the story itself. To set the scene, imagine you're Emma. You're working a long shift at a cafe. It's been a tough day.
Oh, I can imagine. The cafe life is not always easy. Lots of hustle and bustle, and not always a lot of appreciation.
Yeah, so Emma's exhausted. She's worried about making rent. She's feeling kind of invisible, just one face in the crowd.
That feeling of invisibility is something I think a lot of us can relate to, just going through the motions, feeling like no one really sees you.
Exactly. And then in walks Shaquille O'Neal.
Wow. Okay, now that would definitely snap you out of feeling invisible. What goes through your mind when you see Shaq walking in?
I mean, can you imagine you're wiping down tables, trying to stay positive, and suddenly there's SHAQ?
Talk about a contrast. So is he, acting like a big shot celebrity, demanding everyone's attention?
Actually, no. That's what's so interesting about this story. Shaq is described as being very low-key, actually.
Hmm.
Polite, even.
Not the typical celebrity stereotype. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. He's just observing the street, not even on his phone,
Hmm.
which is kind of rare these days.
It is. It's like he's actually present in the moment, taking it all in, and that presence allows him to actually, well, see Emma, not just as the waitress, but as a person.
Exactly. And isn't that kind of a powerful thing? To be truly seen, especially when you're feeling overlooked.
It is. And it's something we don't always do we? Take the time to really see the people around us.
Nope. So Anna takes Shaq's order, a cappuccino and a croissant. Pretty standard cafe fare.
Yeah. Keeps it simple, huh?
And she's trying to, keep her cool while serving a basketball legend. She even notices that he seems really calm, at peace, which is a stark contrast to, her own inner turmoil at that moment.
I wonder if that contrast made his kindness even more impactful. Here's this giant of a man, seemingly unfazed by the world, taking the time to acknowledge someone who's feeling small and overwhelmed.
That's a really good point.
Mm.
And when Shaq's ready to leave, he simply says, "Thank you. Have a good day." Just those few words.
But sometimes the simple words are all it takes.
Right. They linger with Emma.
Yes.
It's like a tiny spark of recognition in an otherwise difficult day.
Yeah, the power of acknowledgement. It can be really validating, especially when we're feeling down.
So Shaq walks out, and Emma goes to clear his table. She's assuming maybe he left a decent tip, which would be nice, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh, but she's about to get a whole lot more than just a decent tip. This is where the story takes that turn.
And what she finds on the receipt completely blows her away. Not just the amount of the tip, but the handwritten note that comes with it.
Wow, yeah, I remember hearing about this note. It was everywhere for a while.
And you can imagine Emma's heart stopping as she reads these words. "Your kindness and hard work don't go unnoticed. My family has been where you are. Stay strong. Brighter days are coming."
Man, that's powerful stuff. So much more than just a platitude. It's like he's revealing a connection to her struggle.
It's so personal, so empathetic. And for Emma, who's been feeling so invisible and overwhelmed, it's like a lifeline.
It is. And what I find so powerful about this moment is that it could have just ended there, right? It could have remained this private exchange between two people from, seemingly different worlds. But as we know, the story doesn't end there.
Yeah, it doesn't. And this is where social media and the internet come into play. Someone, probably another customer or a coworker, snaps a picture of the note, and suddenly Emma's private moment is out there for the world to see.
It's amazing how quickly things can spread online these days, right? One minute it's a personal exchange, and the next it's being shared and discussed by thousands of people.
Exactly. And for Emma, that creates a whole new set of emotions to deal with. Suddenly she's facing this unexpected weight of viral fame.
I can only imagine how overwhelming that must have been. On one hand, it's great to see a story like this resonate with so many people, but on the other hand, there's the question of privacy. How much are we as a society entitled to know about someone else's personal life?
That's a really good question. And it's exactly the conflict Emma finds herself wrestling with. She didn't ask for this kind of attention. She was just
That's
doing her
right.
job, being kind, and now strangers online are dissecting her life.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for sure.
She feels uncomfortable with the invasion of privacy. But at the same time, her manager points out that she deserves recognition for her hard work and kindness.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? What happens when a private act of generosity becomes this public spectacle? Where do we draw the line between celebrating good deeds and respecting someone's privacy?
And to make things even more intense, a news crew shows up at the cafe. They want to get Emma's story on camera.
Oh, wow. So now the pressure's really on.
Right. Suddenly, she's expected to be the poster child for, like, viral kindness, whether she wants to be or not.
Yeah, talk about a whirlwind of emotions. She's caught in the middle trying to figure out her own feelings while also dealing with the public and the media narrative that's being built around her.
So she's faced with a choice. Does she retreat and try to reclaim her privacy? Or does she embrace this unexpected platform and use it to share a message of hope and kindness?
It's a tough call. I mean, it would be completely understandable for her to just want to disappear and go back to her normal life.
Right. But there's also that possibility that she could use this moment to actually make a difference.
That's true. So what does she do?
Well, after talking it over with her mom and really thinking it through, she agrees to go on the morning show. But on one condition:
Okay, I like where this is going. What's the condition?
she wants to control the narrative.
Smart move. She's taking charge of her own story and refusing to be defined by the sensational aspect of it, not the amount of the tip or the viral fame. She's focusing on what truly matters to her.
Exactly. She tells her manager, I'm not going to talk about the money. I want to talk about the note, about kindness. That's all.
There's something really powerful about that statement. She's not interested in perpetuating the spectacle. She wants to use this opportunity to talk about something bigger than herself.
And that's exactly what she does. When the host asks her how she felt when she first read the note, Emma explains that it wasn't about the money, it was about the words. She says, I've been going through a tough time, and those words meant more than I can explain.
Oh, wow. You can just feel the weight of her experience in those words. There's such raw honesty there.
She's not putting on a brave face or trying to downplay her struggles. She's being real, vulnerable even.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so powerful. And then what happens next?
So the host reads the note aloud. Your kindness and hard work don't go unnoticed. My family has been where you are. Stay strong. Brighter days are coming. And then he asks Emma what she thinks Shaq meant by those words. And what follows is this really profound moment.
I'm on the edge of my seat. What does she say?
Emma looks directly into the camera, and it's like she's speaking to everyone watching. She says, I think he meant that we all go through struggles no matter who we are, no matter what family we come from. And sometimes when you're at your lowest, the smallest act of kindness can change everything. It reminds you that someone sees you and that they're not alone.
Wow, that's such a powerful message. She's taking this very personal experience and turning it into something much larger, something that speaks to the shared human experience.
Yeah, and the studio audience feels it too. There's this palpable silence after she speaks, like a moment of shared understanding and connection.
It's proof that authenticity resonates, right? That vulnerability can be a source of strength.
Absolutely. She's not trying to be polished or perfect.
Yeah.
She's just speaking from the heart. And that's what makes it so impactful.
It reminds me that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that come from a place of genuine human experience. She's not preaching or lecturing. She's just sharing her truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And before wrapping up the interview, the host asks Emma if there's anything she'd like to say to Shaq if he's watching.
Oh, I remember this part. It gets me every time.
Emma takes a breath, and with this smile full of gratitude, she says, just thank you not for the money, but for seeing me, for reminding me to hold on to hope. You made more of a difference than...
Yeah. You can just hear the sincerity in her voice.
Yeah. And it highlights the power of human connection, right? It's not just about the material gift, but about the emotional impact.
Absolutely. And in a way, Emma's now extending that same kindness to others by sharing her story.
It's like that initial act of generosity from Shaq created this ripple effect of kindness spreading outward and touching countless lives.
A beautiful illustration of how one small gesture can have far-reaching impact, and it all circles back to that idea of perception. Shaq seeing Emma the public, seeing the story, and ultimately Emma seeing herself differently, but the story doesn't end there, does it? What happens after the camera stopped rolling? Does she just fade back into anonymity, or does this experience fundamentally change her life?
Well, she doesn't chase the spotlight or try to capitalize on her newfound notoriety.
Good for her.
Instead, she returns to work at the cafe, back to her routine. But something within her has shifted.
I think it's her sense of self-worth, right? Shaq's note, along with all the support from the public, validated her in a way she hadn't experienced before.
Yeah, it's like that act of kindness gave her permission to see herself differently. Not about ego or pride, but a recognition of her own strength and resilience.
Exactly, and that newfound confidence radiates outward. The cafe becomes a different place for her.
Oh, really? How so?
Customers treat her with more kindness. They see her now not just as the waitress, they leave encouraging notes, they tip more generously, and even their thank yous hold more sincerity.
So it's not just Emma who's been impacted. This one act of generosity has sparked a chain reaction of positivity.
Psychologists call this emotional contagion. Kindness has a ripple effect influencing not only the recipient, but also those who witness it. It's like our actions, even the small ones, can have unintended consequences.
And speaking of reminders, Emma keeps Shaq's note tucked away in her wallet.
It's become a symbol for her, hasn't it?
A tangible symbol of that turning point in her life. A reminder that even in the midst of our ordinary lives, extraordinary things can happen.
And sometimes those things come from the most unexpected places.
Well, this story has been a real testament to the power of perception. Shaq seeing Emma the public, seeing her story, and Emma ultimately seeing herself differently. But it also highlights the potential of these small acts of kindness, to create ripple effects that extend far beyond that initial act.
It reminds us that we each have the ability to make a difference in the lives of those around us, often in ways we might never imagine. A kind word, a gesture of support, a moment of genuine connection. These seemingly small things can have a profound impact. It's something to think about as we go about our day. Have you ever witnessed or been on the receiving end of a small act of kindness that had a surprisingly large impact? Maybe it was a stranger holding a door open, a friend offering a listening ear, or a coworker lending a helping hand. It's worth holding on to those moments, both as the giver and as the receiver. Consider the power they hold, because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can be the spark that ignites a flame of hope, not just in someone else's life, but in our own as well.
Well said. And that's the deep dive for today. We'll see you next time for another fascinating story.